Hello everybody, this is ManuS and welcome to another Eternal news video. So the game is still in maintenance, but the patch notes for the earlier announced patch has finally dropped. So let's dive in and see what's new. So first of all, we can invite our friends now and we get some sweet benefits for inviting them. For the first 10 friends that you get to join the game and complete all of the Cyan campaigns, including Wump and Nictotraxian avatars, that can't be earned anywhere else. And the friends will receive a unique Valkyrie theme deck with a premium Valkyrie Spire Guard, and we get a unique Yeti theme deck with a premium Wump. So that's pretty sweet. Free premiums are always nice, and extra dust and or cards, especially for newer people that bring along friends, is a really nice way for everyone to like get into the game quicker. Another generous move by Direwolf basically. And the other rewards aside from the avatars, I assume, will probably be gold, shiftstone, packs, something like that. But we will know as soon as the game is back up what the exact rewards will look like. Next we get the founder packages. They were announced already and now we know exactly what they look like. There is a Molo de Narkova premium avatar for 300 gems, so now there's premium avatars. Curious what they're gonna look like. Probably pretty cool. They've done some great improvements to premiums, so looking forward to see those. First package is costing, if I see that, if I'm not mistaken, this is the I'm not sure if this is the cost or part of the package. I assume it's probably part of the package. And the packages cost real money rather than gems. And you basically get like gems plus extras rather than the usual gems, so probably a better rate per gem than usual plus the bonus, I assume. It starts getting interesting with the Bounty Hunter package because it also includes the Eternal Throne Totem, which is really badass. Like, I think it's the totem from the Stranger campaign, and I really love that totem, and I'm pretty sure that's the one we're gonna get. And I already, when I saw it the first time, I was like, I want this totem, so I guess I gotta buy a Founders package. Then we get a complete set of premium sigils, unlimited quantity, just like the basic sigils for all 5 colors, all 5 factions, so that's really sweet. Finally premium sigils, hope they look cool, probably will. And last but not least we get a premium Jack avatar with custom bullet hole visual effects on the playmat, so not sure if it's just going to be at the start of the game or for the entire game. You basically have a different playmat than other people with like bullet holes in it. I assume it's gonna be the later, but we'll find out once the game is back up. And last but not least, there's the Liberator package, basically all the same as before, except 6k gems, so if the raid is good enough, it might be worth it. And in addition to all the stuff from the Bounty Hunter package, we get a premium Icaria avatar with custom Valkyrie wing visual effects on the playmat, just like the bullet hole visual effects. I hope there will be like a preview for these avatars, because if they're cool enough, they might get me to buy the Liberator packaging. Yeah, if the price is right, I don't mind sort of buying the game at a price similar to a regular video game, given how many years I will probably have fun with that investment relative to a regular video game. And yeah, the content will be available for a limited time, so make sure if you want them to get them before they run out. And after the limited availability, the Eternal Throne Totem will stay available in the store for 900 gems. Next we get something new, we get puzzles. So there will be 80 new puzzles that range in difficulty from easy to hard, ranging from like teaching you basic interactions in the game to probably advanced puzzles, where the kind of puzzles that Magic players might know from like articles and videos, where it's like, okay, how to not die this turn, or how do you win this turn, or whatever, and you have to like find the right line to win the game, or whatever, find the right play, find the right line, stuff like that. Looking forward to these. They are pretty cool and pretty fun usually as Magic articles already, so I can actually see that I can actually imagine that they might have been inspired by these what's the play kind of puzzles, which are by now pretty common thing in Magic, and since Patrick Chapin is lead designer, I would imagine they drew inspiration from these puzzles and implemented them as a nice way to help people learn the game, get better at the game, and also give them something fun and interesting to do to challenge themselves if they want. And yeah, each puzzle offers a gold reward for completion, so there's also something to be gained. Another way to get gold for new players, and a great way actually I think to help new players learn the game and the game's interactions, rather than throwing the rules book at them and be like, here, read these X pages to learn about the game. And now the most important part, and most interesting part to most people, the nerfs and buffs. 2 cards, actually almost only buffs, and a few nerfs. Alright, so as they say, the changes fall into 3 categories. First category is buffs to enable more time, Justice Primal, and Shadow strategies, because fire is too prevalent as core of strategies in Eternal right now, based on their opinion, and to some extent in general. Praxis, Skycrack, Rakano, Stone Scar, Armory. Most of the top decks that come to mind, especially on ladder right now, have fire as an essential part to them. Alright, so the first change, Aid of the Horu now draws 4 cards instead of 2. Great, because I have been talking about how ridiculously poor the gain is from the card for its cost. I would have honestly liked to potentially see the... oh no, actually not. Like I was about to say, see the board impact increased, but not really necessary. Like getting 2 owls and stunning the opposing board should buy you enough time to make the cards you draw count, and drawing more cards makes the card is the best way to make the card more impactful, and I really like that change. 12 is still a lot, but now at least if you get to play it, it actually does what a 12 cost card should do. It puts you really far ahead, resource-wise and on-board wise, and should usually be the turning point of the game and make it very likely for you to win the game. So really cool change here. Now it's actually a card, still a very expensive card, but one that it is potentially appealing to work towards and try to ramp into to win the game with it, basically. And that's something that I will try in my stream later, among others. Next we have Averok's Familiar. Card was fine, but a little too weak in comparison to Initiate, Flying, and Warp. For triple the cost, seemed a bit out of relation to like the Initiate, but throwing in the 1 extra health mitigates that, means it can block random 1/1s, so it has a little more stabilization value, can attack into small flyers easier, and once buffed with Obelisk and stuff, is harder to shoot down. Like for example with an Obelisk it's a 2/3, meaning it can't be killed by Heart of the Vault, for example, and stuff like that, so it's overall much more appealing. Next we have the change that I have been predicting the entire time, and a lot of people have been doubting me on it, but yeah, I think it was if you played these games enough and understand what is reasonable and balanced, Banish being the instant of all the possible instants in the game to be reduced, simply because Trailblaze was kind of a clear statement that they wanted these effects not to be too cheap, so it was unlikely to be reduced. Mortar as a common add 3 would just be too good. 4 for 4 as an instant, as a fast spell, just seemed pretty reasonable for a common, so no point in changing that. And Cerso's Meddling or Viper's Bride are overcosted limited cards that are just too trivial to even change. So Banish was the only option, and Banish really needed that change, I think, because now you at least can gain some form of tempo by using it, making it cost 3 and dealing with stuff that costs 4 is exactly the sweet spot to make the card reasonable. Like before, I think it was somewhere between bad and sometimes a necessary evil, and now it's still not great, but it's solid. Now it's really solid and compares well to Slay. The trade-off being you get the fast spell option, can only kill small to medium stuff, while Slay just kills everything but doesn't kill attachments and is only a spell, not a fast spell. So really nice contrast here to Slay. Also, Banish is a rare and Slay is an uncommon that also makes basically explains why it is overall maybe slightly better, even though worse at killing units. So really sweet change, should help Xenon become more relevant, because it has been, I'd say, by far the least relevant faction since that 2 release. Next we have Bloodcall Invocation. This change is amazing. I honestly think that could backfire. We'll have to see. Like, I think this is really, really good. Imagine the following sequence. Turn 1, Sanctuary Priest. Turn 2, play a power, play half a copy of Water of Life, play Bloodcall Invocation. And then you suddenly have a 4/4 on turn 2. That's pretty impressive. And in a Life Force deck, Water of Life giving you 2 triggers already was reasonably appealing before. The problem was that all the good Life Force cards basically didn't care about how much life you gained, just whether you gained it or not. But now with Bloodcall Invocation at 1, basically just turning Water of Life and Invocation into a 2-power 3/3 that doesn't die to Annihilate is already pretty good. And if you add in stuff like Sanctuary Priest on turn 1 and so on, and turbo growing cards like Cult Aspirant, makes Water of Life pretty interesting now with Bloodcall Invocation. Excited to go back to my Xenon Life Force shells and experiment with this stuff. Looks amazing. Bloodletter, another nice change. Problem with Bloodletter was the alternatives just were better, but as a 3/3, as +3/3 instead of +3/2, comparing much better to Vodakhan stuff and being more of a realistic competition with other 3-cost cards in the colors like Beastcaller's Amulet and all that stuff. Still not sure if the card's gonna end up seeing play and how good it's gonna be, but now it's at least like reasonable and has some appeal over the other cards. While before I just felt like there's no consideration. The other cards are just all much more needed and much better. Card is just a little too weak. Now it's reasonable and might find its way into some decks potentially. Next we have Cat Burglar. Another nice change. 3/2 makes it harder to ignore on offense, while on defense the strength doesn't matter anyway due to the deadly, making the card a bit more appealing to main deck, because a 3/2 for 3 with deadly basically making it hard to just blanket and dealing reasonable damage if it's not being blocked, makes the card overall more impactful, especially if the summon effect doesn't do anything. Next we have Crownwatch Squire. Another sweet change. Got an extra health. Another very nice change. The problem before was a bit that the card just wasn't that powerful for how much effort it takes to turn it on. There's only one 2-drop that mentors as a unit, the 2/2 that gives +1/+1. So the consistency isn't there to reliably turn it on turn 2, since Dragon's Breath is a bit so-so in constructed. And even then, if you turn it on, the base stats of 3/3 are not that impressive. It's just like a slower, more reliable district infantry. And infantry is good because it's not slow, because it's attacking on turn 2 for 3, and not attacking at all on turn 2 in the best case, then attacking on turn 3 is just a little too slow, so the card needed more sort of board stalling defensive value, since Mentor clearly isn't meant for being super aggressive, and giving an extra health makes it match up a lot better against a lot of units, stall the board more, and remain more impact over the course of the game, and might make it worth it to try the card and see if turning it into a 4/5 on turn 2 is good enough for all the hassle that you have to go through. Excited to try some Horu Mentor mid-range stuff with some of the other changes I'll go into it now. Evelina Valet Searcher. The card was already kind of interesting as a 3-cost card. Problem was, other explorers usually also cost 2 or 3. So if you play her on 3, you kind of have to play your Amber Acolyte on 4, which is awkward and stuff, and now you can go turn 2 Evelina, turn 3 Amber Acolyte, for example, to get a second trigger. So that's really sweet, and also a 2/2 for 2 with that effect is much more powerful as a rare than the 3-cost was. The 3-cost felt more like a decent uncommon, and now it really feels like a rare. And if you watch my stream regularly, you have seen me experiment with my Dynamite Elysian deck, like my Dinosaur Elysian Tribal deck, which already actually performed decent when I last tried it. I think I went like 6 and 4, and now with the change to Evelina, the deck might actually be pretty good, and I'm excited to try it on stream later. Next we have Fencing Master, just got changed from Double Justice to Single Justice. Bit of a weird change to me. Double Justice in decks that play that I think don't really care too much about the Double Justice cost, and I just don't really see much changed by the fact that it now costs a Single Justice, because it's really not the kind of card you would splash in some deck. You probably would just be focused on Horu, because there's the good, or like enough stun enablers with Permafrost, Peacekeeper's Broad, and potentially Frostkin. So yeah, not a relevant change here, I think. Mask of Torment, now a bit more appealing with the cost more reasonable at 20. 20 is still a bunch, and I still think the ramp effect just doesn't do enough other than the ultimate to really be worth it, so you're mostly just playing like a 25 power what's the one? 25 power Tormentor in your deck in a way. You spend 5 on the Mask and then 20 on the Tormentor, making it 25 total. Just, I don't know. I don't think there's enough to do with the ramp probably. And the fact that the ultimate is expensive but not as expensive anymore won't make the card suddenly see play, I think. Next we have Minotaur Lighthoof. That's a pretty sweet change. Now it's a 4-cost 4/4 instead of a 5-cost 4/5. It's the 5-cost. It's the Mono Shadow drop that gives a unit unblockable this turn. So now as a 4-drop, it slots really nice into Feln Infiltrate decks. You can go turn 3 Gorgon Fanatic or Beastcaller, and then turn 4 just drop a 4/4, give them unblockable, and infiltrate guaranteed. So that's also definitely something that I want to experiment with, because having more ways to guaranteed infiltrate without throwing away cards or playing bad cards like Mantle, I think Mantle, like the 3-cost weapon that gives +2/+2 and unblockable this turn, stuff like that, is really nice. It's a good source of unblockability with a decent body, so worth trying. And last but not least, as a buff we have Watcher of Big Ones. Got reduced in cost by 1, and all it did is lose 1 attack for the 1 cost. And let's be honest, the card never really was about its attack. It's mostly about its health, making it a good roadblock and blocker, and about its ability. Whether it's a 3-6 or 4-6 doesn't matter too much, at least in my opinion. But being able to make a 5-5 Carnosaur an entire turn earlier is a really big deal. And now the card is... It was already kind of interesting and sweet before, and now it should be really good. So definitely worth revisiting Horror Mentor stuff. Alright. Next category is nerfs to pull back on armory while also increasing diversity among armory strategies. The changes were Smuggler's Stash now cost 6 instead of 5, so a whole turn slower. Relevant change, but not a devastating change. It just means you have to make more sure that you are stable enough to take off your 6th turn to use Stash, and then take over the game later. So when you're under pressure, when you're behind, the card is going to be much worse and much less helpful. So the deck will easier crumble under pressure now, I guess, than before. And the other changes, Inspire now costs 2 instead of 1, which in my opinion just makes the card trash. The card's unplayable now. I think the card was great in Armory, decent in a couple of other decks, and at 2 is just unplayable. I am going to dust my 4 Premium Inspires. That's how dead Inspire is, I think. And last but not least, they announced that they're gonna blow up 1 keyword with the patch, and I guess nobody saw this one coming. The keyword they blew up and basically removed is Power Surge. Actually, they are mostly the same. The only thing that changed basically is due to the fact that it's now a summon effect, Copper Conduit will not trigger cards like Dawnwalker and Friendly Wisp anymore, making the card much worse. I honestly think all 3 former Power Surge cards are now more or less unplayable for Constructed in most contexts. I was a pretty big fan of Flame Blast over Obliterate before, even with the steeper cost, just because the card was so much more flexible, even though it had a slightly worse damage rate. Now Obliterate is clearly better, and I either will make my curve, like my power base, support the 5 power for Obliterate, or just refrain from running any big burn spells in my aggressive decks. I think since, yeah, that was kind of, I think actually the biggest nerf here was to fire again with these changes, since Copper Conduit's not that important right now. Xenon Killers wasn't particularly relevant. Dark Praxis random, but yeah, the most well-doing Praxis list was straight Praxis without Conduit anyway. So the biggest hit is 2 efficient, well-scaling fire cards have been axed that have been in various aggressive fire decks. Like for example, my Skycrack aggro runs 3 flail, 2 to 3 flail and 4 flame blast. Now I have to cut both and find other things to do with my Skycrack deck. Might have to completely reinvent it because I think the cards are just gonna be too rate inefficient and clunky now to play. Flail, while having been great in Armory before, now the fact that Stash costs 1 more and Flail costs 1 more means that you can Stash plus Flail something big on turn 8 instead of turn 6, making Flail really bad, also making Flail much worse early on, since you can't kill 2 drops on turn 2 anymore, and you also can't kill 1 health units for 1 to generate tempo early on either. So yeah, gonna get the dust back on all these premium cards, I guess. And the rest are just some nice UI improvements, a bunch of bug fixes, a bunch of card interaction fixes, and yeah, that's all there is for the patch notes. Hope you guys are excited as I am about all the changes from this patch. Glad to see some constructed staples and sweet interactions be blown up and go away. Armory is gonna be weaker, but far from that. You just basically have to cut Inspire, make sure you don't rely too much on Stash, and go back to running Icaria, the latest version that people have been running, like me, Tony G, and so on, with a bunch of maidens and more stashes and no Icarias. I think is sort of forced to go back to Icarias now, with Stash being weaker, because you gotta pull back on Stash, and it might make Reforge a bit more appealing. And yeah, but Armory will still be a solid deck, just a little toned down, I think, since Flail was never super essential to the deck. The biggest hit is the cost increase in Stash, and Inspire basically reducing the consistency of the deck because you can't really play Inspire anymore. Okay, that's it for the review of all the changes. Hope to see you guys later on my stream when I brew with all the nice new things and talk about it more. I am super pumped. See you soon. Thanks for watching, guys. You can find my stream and social media in the description, as well as a donation link if you want to help me make more content in the future, support the channel. And that's it. I'm out. Bye.